Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of TalkSports, where we speak with the movers and shakers in sports, the sportsmen and sportswomen and administrators of past and current. This week, our guest is former javelin throw champion, not just in Grenada, the OECS, and for quite a while was the leading javelin thrower in the Caribbean. We're speaking about Trevor Modeste, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Trevor Modeste, MBE. Trevor Modeste joins us live from, I understood, it's a rainy Grenada on the eve of the 37th anniversary of the United States invasion of Grenada. As I welcome and say, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Mr. Modeste.
Good afternoon.
Yes, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me here this evening.
Right. And first of all, let's talk about how you have been coping with the pandemic, Mr. Modeste.
Well, I was in quarantine since November because I got sick. I had a kidney infection and I was hospitalized and home since November. So when the pandemic and COVID came in, I was already home. I was already used to being home. So it was okay for me at that time.
Okay. All right. Well, glad to know that. And as I hope I was correct when I said it, a rainy Grenada.
It's a rainy. Course. Well, it's at Fontana. It's cloudy, but this is heated and cloudy. It's very humid at the moment. So we were having some heavy showers on and off, but relatively it's intermittent heavy showers that we are having.
Okay. You mentioned Fontenoy, but we all know that's your adopted village now. But Trevor, you have represented the parish of St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, for many years. Let's start off how you got involved in sports in Grenada. We'll go into the mainstay of javelin and throws and other events. I understood. We know you just as javelin, but I know you have some secrets to share in terms of you were also on the track, But how you got involved?
If I should start from the beginning, I'll have to start from 5 years. When I was 5, I entered a competition in Paradise. I'm from Paradise, St. Andrews, the Cocoa area, where this man, Mr. Farrell, he had a sporting competition where all fellas would participate in a competition. And that's where I started running, doing like the 100 meters. Walter Simmons started in that area there too. And a few other fellas started doing it in Paradise. Then I went to SAS. It was, instead of track and field, it was cricket. I was a pace bowler at first. And I went to trials at Progress Park. Instead of staying in to throw the discus, I went to trials at Progress Park. Being a junior, I used to throw the discus, the 40s in the school, but I went to trials because I wanted to play for West Indies. I wanted to pace bowl. And the principal sent me home as punishment. My parents were going to school. And then he said he wanted me to throw javelin and not to play cricket. And that's when I started throwing the javelin. And I think it was the same year, greats like Eros Rapier, Otway, Solo, Otway, and Kingy, Forrester. Those fellas came looking for me and encouraging me because at that time I didn't know what I was doing at that age. At 14, 15, I didn't know that I was throwing so far. And that's when I started getting the encouragement and started recognizing the importance of the throwing events. And in 79, I think it was when I represented Grenada for the first time going to Character Games. Everything started falling in place at that time. So that's basically how I started up.
Yeah. It was a topsy-turvy sort of journey over the years in terms of your participation and commitment. And I say commitment, Trevor, because I know that, and I mean, for someone who lived in the Queen's Park area, around the Queen's Park area there, River Road to be exact, and seeing that level of commitment from yourself and Anthony George over the years in particular, even at the age in the 30s and into the 40s, on almost every afternoon,
The
you
age
know,
of 40.
yeah, going into throw, and I mean, even without competition, that sort of discipline, what it really takes for you for all these years, Trevor, even after active competition, to continue to throw and be, in the field of javelin.
Well, javelin, to throw the javelin, you have to be dedicated. You have to be all around. That's why I competed I did the 400 meters, and I do high jump, long jump, triple jump, and do javelin, discus, shot put. And so you go into SAS, if you're going to throw the javelin, you know that you have to participate in almost every event so that you will be strong. You have to be that all around level of fitness must be there. And we had no coach at the time to actually give us scientific guidelines into how to train and how to develop ourselves. All we knew was that if you're involved in only a discipline in track and field, you will reach that level. And that's what we did. It wasn't I alone, it was just the idea that if we do all the events as a decathlete, we may get a scholarship as a decathlete, or if we are outstanding in our field, we'll get a medal as or a scholarship as a decathlete. You had fellas like Parrot, who was the most outstanding triple jumper in Grenada at that time. You had fellas like what's his name, the high jumper. I can't remember his name at the moment. I have a little bit of thought block, so I can't remember his name. And Walter Siemens, Patrick Simmons, Tiki, Roland Joseph.
Roland Joseph.
Yeah, man, we were all wrong athletes. Then you have the young fellas coming in. That's when we were in Form 3, Form 4. You have Livingston Nelson, Godfrey Augustine, and those young fellas coming in, Barito. And every one of us were all wrong athletes. Not having a coach, now it be whole that Trevor Modeste, Patrick Simmons, or it was Mr. Robinson at the time, or Mr. Daniel, one of our teachers, assisting us in getting students to participate in the sports. And we were searching. That's how we got Eugene to come over to SAS, because Eugene we used to call him Convent, Lawanga. And then that's how we got him to come over to SAS. He was I think it was in Form 2, and we got him to come because we knew he was an outstanding athlete. So in SAS, your idea was a very good all-around athlete. If you're participating in one sport, you can't make it. You must be participating in at least 3 events to make it on our intercall team. And our training was of a very high standard. And after coming from Carter Gibbs, when we recognized that to be an outstanding athlete, you must be highly qualified in academics. And the teachers used to make time to teach after school. That's why you have fellows like Stafford, John, Taylor, and Livingston Nelson and Godfrey. That's why you have them getting all that amount of subjects. That's when we move from getting 6 subjects to getting 10 and 13 subjects. Just because of that. When we had what's his name again, Pesh, that's
Aline Francis.
Aline Francis, getting all those subjects, and they had to do all this training and get all those subjects is because the teacher studied dedication and recognizing that we didn't have a coach. The effort was placed into it. And our principal, dear principal, Mr. Julian Cressy, as we call him, used to call us to his office like fellas like Parrot and I, sometimes Tricks, and draw those linemen and the blackboard. and said that's how you jump, that's how you have to throw the javelin and whatnot.
So are
And
you saying even though he wasn't a coach, he knew something about it?
he knew something about aerodynamics, and he taught
Oh,
us
right.
about aerodynamics. For example, if you saw one of the old photos of the team, the SAS team, all of us had big afros, and he was behind us to cut the afro. You have to cut the hair, every advantage. You had to get it so that you would participate. I'm trying to get a photo here because I think I have a photo of the team. I keep a photo of our intercall team, and we always had large um,
A- Any reason?
afro.
Any reason why you all have to have it?
Let me see if I can get that properly. That's me right
Oh,
at the
okay.
edge.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
large afro. So that's what he was saying, that if you have less hair on your head, you run 100 of a second faster, and that's why we started cutting our hair after that. Instead of growing this a big afro, we started cutting our hair. But in those days, the afro was the thing. And when you came to intercall, and you didn't have afro, to your sports, that well, you press down your hair, you put a good bit of grease and you put a stocking on it so that your hair would press down. People wouldn't recognize you when you're competing. We did that just to gain a little extra improvement in our timing.
Right, right. But let me ask you regarding why it is, and I know I asked couple guys before you the question, but you one I need to get at the time why it is that the guys from SAS tend to always be the bigger guys. I mean, was it something that SAS always attracted the bigger guys? I mean,
Okay, let me. We didn't have any idea about body development. All we knew is that we had to eat well
right.
and train hard. That's all we knew. We did not even understand what it was meant by training wisely. We knew that we had to eat good, do lots of push-ups, and run on the sand. So doing lots of push-ups and running on the sand, we developed. And as I told you, when Livingston, Nelson, and the Godfrey Augustine came in SAS, we were, I think, it was in Form 4. And they were taller than us already. So when I think when Livingston came in, Livingston told me that he was 10 years. I said, man, you crazy, man. Bring your birth certificate, come. And when he brought his birth certificate, I was surprised. And I was teaching Livingston to throw the javelin and the discus for a long time, and he couldn't make it. And the first day he learned to throw, that's when I think I left SAS a good while, and I just came back from training in Cuba, and that's at Capitan St. Louis Police Academy. And he was throwing more than me as he got it. He just went way away with it. The food, the physical training. I mean, we go so far that we used to go at nights to assist truckmen to load their trucks, like heaving sand up onto their trucks, just to develop, just to throw javelin, just to throw shot put, just to throw discus. Because we didn't know anything about going to a gym. We didn't understand anything about gym and that level of fitness. We used to go and run at Big Bay or at the Pulse Airport just to develop. We used to look for hills and do explosive sprint work. And we just do that without even understanding the principles behind it. But we used to do that because we know we are going to get big and we are going to get faster. And we did it. And then we had a teacher, that Mr. Robinson. He was, not an agronomist, but the one that deal with weather. What's his name now?
with the Met Office,
Yeah, he was a
meteorologist, meteorologist.
guy,
Yeah.
Mr. Robinson. He used to make them booty bakes with coconut and whatnot and bring for us so that we, after training, we eat that and the oil them. It was only when Trix became qualified as a nutritionist that the oil was my mother's favorite thing. My mother used to cook the oil, but it was only when Trix became a nutritionist we really understood that the oil was a balanced diet and why it was that powerful. So it was the diet, the exercise, and genetics that brought us to that level.
And it's something that helped not just the male but the female, because over the years I realized even SAS produced a number of top javelin throwers as well. But
Well,
throw not just javelin throwers in, by
let me
extension.
tell you, I had my brother, yeah, my brothers did not go to SAS, but they throwed javelin and discus. My nephew threw javelin, my niece threw javelin. They got medals in character, and yes, my I had another yes, the last nephew he threw javelin also, and I have cousins, lots of cousins just throwing javelin. When I came from competing, I can't remember, but I think it was Texaco Olympics. Our first competition in Grenville after that games in Barbados when I won, and I was seen an Caribbean Sports Update, and I was voted as the most outstanding javelin thrower and whatnot. We went to a competition in Grenville, and it took me over an hour and a half to make one throw because over 50 something persons registered to throw javelin. They want to compete with Trevor Modeste. I mean, that's the level javelin throwing was to Grenada, and it still is to Grenada.
Yeah, because for many years Grenada dominated javelin throwing, well, throws and javelin in particular, even at the character level.
Yeah.
Well, and as you know,
Even,
Grenada.
even before character.
Well, yeah, and I'm about to say too that Grenada won the first gold medal in the javelin throw in
Like
era, era of
Yeah.
Rapier when
Mhm.
character started in 1972. Okay, and then there was a succession of throwers, yourself, and even the likes of Selwyn Smith and I mean Kieran
Man, you're
Francis.
leaving out one of the stalwart man. You're leaving out Dr. Campbell.
Oh, Dunstan Campbell, yeah.
No, Dr. Dunsan
Yeah,
Campbell.
Dunstan Campbell. Yeah, there's so many others who, blazed the trail in terms of javelin throws. In fact, I've said that when it comes to the 400 meters, how Kirani, was the pinnacle of 400 meters. When you look at javelin, Grenada won more javelin events. Um, well, and in the case
You
of
know,
Anderson, who is a world champion, but when you look at the regional, Grenada dominated CSC, Carifta, I mean, in terms of javelin throw. And mind you, even in the multiple events like the decathlon, remember, Grenada dominated, whether it's at the Carifta Games or others. And the throws were the main staple of those events where Grenada dominated. So I'm saying that to say, Trevor, that over the years, and we'll get into most recently how you think we would have progressed in terms of especially the javelin.
okay, let's go back to our culture, man. You see, you have to look at culture when you look at sports, culture, genetics. You look at what we do. Look at Paradise St. Andrews. Everybody pelting stone. You're busting man head. You're pelting stone in the night. You're pelting houses. Look at Guav. Same thing you're doing. Look at Tivoli. You do that. All over Grenada, we throwing stones. We pelting mangoes, coconut, breadfruit. I couldn't climb. So if they tell me go and pick breadfruit, I pelt. They tell me to pick a coconut, I pelt it. And that's what we did. That's the life in Grenada. Then you're talking about agriculture as a backbone of the economy. We work the land. We use the fork. you realize that I never said anything about co-development when we were training, because we were cutting grass, fucking, and you had co-development. That's when you develop your stomach and your back. We never exercised for that, because what we were doing was there. The hills, to walk the hills. That was the high knee lift walk that we were doing, strengthening our legs. Our culture actually mold us to be the type of athletes that we dominate in the Caribbean with. Now, you look at men loading trucks. Look at the men and the Carib trucks and the coke trucks. You look at the men heaving the cocoa, heaving the bunches of bananas. You look at men heaving the bags of nutmeg. That's what we grew up doing. So when I was growing up, I used to fuck, I used to cut glass, I used to play big man and heave blocks, heave shades of sand and do those things. Those things develop your shoulders, and all how I walk out to make my arms, my bicep powerful and big. It couldn't happen because the foundation was laid just to my shoulders alone develop, and my arms remain hard and slim. It ain't getting bigger. And if I take a cricket, I remember I was throwing javelin one day in Queen's Park, and the pace bowlers were bowling. And I said, I faster than these fellas, you know. I can't remember who was the coach. And he said, Modeste, what's wrong with you? I said, okay, give me a ball and I bowl one, and I'm faster than them. And I bowled. It was like a beamer from one cricket stump to the next. But it was real fast, faster than the bowlers. And the coach was asking, he said, Modeste, when you come and play cricket? I said, no, man, I ain't showing javelin. I just showed your that was a tall fella from Montfanasos. He was pace bowling at that time. I said, I'll just show him how to do it, and he will get it. Just like I explained to him, and I said, look, javelin throwing and pace bowling is similar. Same thing I did with Eugene Lickwich too in regards to his triple jump. And I said, you deliberately make a hop step in your jump. I mean, in your throws, in your bowling. You do that and concentrate and doing it, and you'll see what would happen. And that's when that man started bowling faster and faster. Well, let me go to Eugene like with his triple jump. Eugene always step with his long jump. He always overstepping. And I say, come, let's measure your run up and do it like when you're throwing javelin. And he gone. He broke the record in Trinidad 2 weeks afterwards. Same thing with Max Wien. And it's just because you teach them those things, and you get it. But we have real talent in Grenada in every track and field event you could think about. The important thing to do is to identify those talents, guide and direct, and get the students' parents involved. If you get parents involved, you get everything that you need to get. My parents, when we were in SAS, our parents were not involved, but we look at Cressy as our father and whatnot, your grandfather. So we looked at Cressy like that. And Cressy used to make sure that he paid attention to us. Imagine that I went to school one day and Cressy called me to his office, and Parrot also, and I think Trix Pass was there too. There's a few of us he called to his office, and he pulled his drawer and he pulled out his plate and his knife and fork and everything, and he asked us if we could do that. And he taught us how to use it. We grew up eating with spoon. You understand? But he made sure that we learn to do those things.
Right.
I remember once Cressy told me that I can't speak. And I turn around and I say, so I can't speak. He said, no, you can't speak. Tell me something about yourself. Man, I don't know what to talk about myself or what to say about myself. But when I went to that year, 1980, when I showed in character games, not character games, but in intercall and won and broke the 3 records, I did a perfect interview because I was taught how to do impromptu speaking, how to express myself, how to talk about myself. I did that with the athletes in Carrick Wall, and they become remarkable athletes. So I bring in Carrick there because don't think it's mainland Grenada alone. These talents lies.
Right, because I want you just stick a pin on Karakou because I saw a comment there from Cecil Belfon, known as the Flying Turkey, and he was saying that a very good man, Trevor Modeste, please pass on my regards. Last time we interacted was in Karakou many years ago. This is a good human, good citizen, and I'm proud to know him. Let's talk about Karakou, your involvement in Karakou.
Well, you see, let me do it, man. I'm retired now, so I can't say it.
Oh, really? That's good.
Um, Sports, national events, national things should not be, politics should not override national events. National events should be national events. And anytime politicians utilize national events to make themselves look good, you're destroying the country and you're destroying athletes and you're destroying people. As a police officer, I was trained to be a national, to be nationalistic, and not let politics interfere with my judgment. I was transferred to Carrico because of politics. And when I went to Carrico, it did not hurt me per se. When I said that I was disappointed being transferred and sent to Carrico and the reason that they gave to send me to Carrico. But when I arrived in Carrico, I said, man, watch no, man. That's Grenada, that's my home. That's my family in Carrico. So I'll do my best. And then that's when I recognized that there is nothing you call disappointment. If you find it's a disappointment, just assess it and look around. You will see some positive aspect where you can make inroads. I was in my office one day and 2 young fellas came. They knock on the door. I tell them, come in. They came in and I said, Mr. Modeste? I said, yes. Mr. Modeste, can you come and coach us to throw the javelin? I said, nah, man, I ain't coaching nobody again, man. I done that. The next day they came back. And the next day they came back. And I said, okay, give me 2 minutes. I went to the diary, saw the diaries where I was going, took my cap, my cane, and in my full uniform, I went on the grounds. And I started coaching. And we had some outstanding javelin throwers coming out from Carrico there and then. It so happened that the sports officer in Carrico, an incident happened and he died subsequently. And it was I and what's this Calypsonian novel? Talpri. We were the coaches in Carrico. Short pre, sorry, not Talpri, short pre. That's Skylark's son. We became the coach in Carrico. And I was working with students, and then one evening when I came from St. George's coming up on the Osprey, I saw a young girl. They came from debates, and then we spoke, and she asked, we were talking, and she was asking me things about policing and what, and she said we should win, kayak should win, but then they cheating us, man. I spoke to her, and then subsequently I started advising on debates and whatnot. Carrico subsequently won debate. The most important thing, well, so let me go to the Calypso now. I was asked because of that to assist with the Calypso. Say, I can't sing Calypso, I never read a Calypso, why should I come? Next one say, you could coach and debate and fellas could win, you could coach and Calypso. So I said, okay, I'll speak on lyrics. And I spoke on lyrics in that Calypso competition. I mean, that Calypso workshop. And I highlighted some points in regards to the diction, the culture, your accent, and understanding the relationship between culture and pronunciation. And I lectured on that. And I said, I encourage fellows, I said, sing as a kayak. Pronounce your words as a kayak, but make sure that your pronunciation is clear. And I asked one simple question, and that got them to understand what I was talking about. I said, who's the most outstanding Calypsonian in Carriacou? They couldn't answer. And I said, Skylark is the most outstanding Calypsonian in Carriacou. I say, listen to how Skylark sing. Everything is kayak and you can understand everything clearly. And Calypsonian turn and say, so where I singing there, man? Officer, I say, move me now. I say, move me now means move me. No. He says, so what you feel? I say, I understand what you're saying and I understand what it means, but you're saying like a kayak. He says, so you find I should change it? I say, no, don't change it because it's clear. He won a road match. Talpree change, not Talpree, I go back to Talpree. Shotpree changed some of his words in I think it's accident. And he rearranged his tune. And that's when Carriacou lift off. The debate level gone up. Everything gone up in Carriacou. Sports level, every living thing gone up. I was told that I was playing a politician in Carriacou because I wasn't doing police work. I used to go to work for 8 o'clock and come back sometime 8, 9 o'clock in the night. From one meeting to one class to one this and whatnot. That's what I did. And I work hard in Carriacou. And I get people in Carriacou to understand that, look, you're not no aunt child. You know what your aunt child is? Now, it's, are you living by your aunt? You know what that means? Your mother left you and you're living by your aunt. And you're catching your hell. You know that. You have to understand that you are kayak. You speak like a kayak. You move like a kayak and be brave as a kayak. And that went through to them, man, and that get students to develop. And you can see it up to today, the level of development coming out from Carriacou. I'm so proud of the kayaks that when they come to Grenada, they come to look for me, man. Students, big boys as well as, well, I say not big boys, but adults now. Sometimes they calling me out, hugging me up in tongue, and I ain't know them from their kingdom come. I used to get javelins, shoes, everything. And there was an outstanding Kent Joseph. Kent, man, I can't remember his name. His father was a police officer too. I have some little brain damage from the sickness, so
that's
right.
That's understandable.
Yeah, Kent used to. Every living thing I need, he sends it without asking a question. He used to spend thousands of dollars to send stuff for me to develop people in Carriacou, in sports, and fishing organization, how you call it, the yachting, and all those things.
Ken Simon?
Ken Simon.
Yeah, Ken Simon. Yeah.
He's supposed to get some awards. He's supposed to give him some recognition.
In fact, even as we speak, he still assists a number of schools and individuals. I know he's a good soul.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. He's one of the most outstanding entrepreneurs that came out and assisted students.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's another comment here from Ray Roberts. He says that Trevor is one of the most passionate athletes I ever met. He was in a superstar group of athletes in his years at SAS, and given the opportunities today, he could have achieved plenty more. He should have plenty to say, as you were saying now. Getting to that point that Ray made,
Let me
that
let me
they,
get up to Raymond. Let me answer Raymond. I had finished competing at one time. And Ray came and he said, look, Junior Murray will win Sportsman of the Year from now going back. Nobody can beat him. I said, Ray, if I gone back throwing javelin, I beat Junior Murray. We bet. I went back and I beat Junior Murray. Ray was one of the announcers who, when I talk about that interview in 1980, that intercall interview, it was Ray Roberts. Ray Roberts asked me a question. He said, it is said that you are using drugs when you throw that distance. I said, drugs. I said, what's drug? I said, I don't know what is a drug. You talking about medication? He laughed. He said, drug to increase your performance. I said, we don't use that. We just train. Ray was one of the motivators. Ray, my good friend Troy Gavier, as an athlete, we compete together and he motivated me. And Paisadi, those are the people that get us to reach where we have developed to be. You should have feel you were feeling the boots of Ray Roberts and Paisadi and Troy Gavi, but then you back out, you cut out. You had to take that mantle after them and get all the sports news, man. I used to have to search for sports news in Paradise and send for Ray Roberts so that he can market and sell young athletes, footballers, cricketers, Peter Blair, Claudius. You get it, you give them. And man, we used to do that thing. We used to go to 14 events just to get it so that we would sell it. There was a time when I moved from the police force for a few months to work at the West Indian Publishing Company, and I used to take the photographs and send it over to Ray, send it over. Man, listen, those are the events, the other attributes that assisted us, that caused sportsmen to develop. That brain of sportsman quiz, that brain of sports quiz with Pele Dabo, again, come in and talk and get on, and you know, man. And also the little pecan where they would tell you things to encourage you. You used to get vexed, man, when they tell you those things, and then you're killing yourself because you want to do it. What's your name? Hercules.
Michelle.
Right. She again, I remember she scolded me. I said, what is this girl? I said, she gonna see what I'm gonna do. And when I go out there and I won, she was the first person running down and big hug and thing. Yeah, man, listen. If you can't get people like those people anymore, we won't develop in sports. We have to get these people. Maurice Bull Williams is planning to come back to Grenada, and he wants us to organize a group to mentor and develop athletes again. If he comes, we'll do it. I can't do it me alone. I'm not that well, but I'm going to go out and give motivational chats and encourage fellas, encourage parents to sacrifice and do things for the students, for the children, and assist teachers in getting students motivated and developed. That's the only way we can go forward. Another thing too that I'd learned, and that's what pushed me, that would get me to compete until the age of 40. Look at all the outstanding people in our society. First one we're talking about is the Prime Minister. He was an athlete. He was a sportsman. Look at my doctor, Dr. Friday. He was an athlete. He was a sportsman. Peter Blair couldn't hold a ball, but all where we were practicing and playing sports, Peter Blair was there announcing, playing. He's an announcer, encouraging people. Even though he couldn't do it, he was there making sure that we did it. You understand what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So if I go to call people who are helping me in regards to my development, man, the whole of St. Andrews, every living body, every farmer, and in my career as a forensic scientist, I used to tell them the first person who showed me how to track, how to look for things on the ground There's a man they call Bolo. He ended up using drugs. And an old man they call Morris, who used to hold crab. He showed me how to track a crab, and Bolo showed me how to track turtle. And when I went to study in Cuba, it was easy for me to track because I understood the principles, because I learned it from the ground. So in my life, every living body played a part. Even the criminals and all played a part. If you were shown telling telling a man one day that you say, mothers get your shoe print and you don't believe. If mothers tell you you go and thief in a place, you go and thief it. Because if he tell me and I didn't go, perhaps I sleepwalk and I go because he know what he about and he won't lie on me. And that motivated me. Even those things. You understand?
Yeah. Well, I did. I didn't disappear. I know it's about 15 or more years, I've left Grenada and things like that. So I had reasons, and things like that. So, but there's a point that Ray made there about given the opportunities today, right? Given those opportunities that are given today, if you were given those opportunities then, you would have achieved plenty more. And I think there's something about why it is either you received or you were denied. What happened over these years when scholarships were being given? Were there a situation where you were
Okay.
given an opportunity or you were denied an opportunity?
In 1991, I was given an opportunity to go to Germany for 10 months. When I throwed 70 meters, it was 69.96 meters I throwed in Barbados, and then went to World Championship. And a German coach saw me, and they made arrangement through Kid Joseph. At that time, Kid Joseph was my good friend, my good mentor. But it was after the revolution and everything. So the man who was in charge of us at the time, the Grenadian who was in charge of track and field and was in charge of the Grenada team at the time, felt that he should be the one doing the necessary work. And Kid Joseph should not be doing it. And he took it over to do it. And he never did anything when we came back, he never materialized. The athletes who went, there was a tall shot putter from Argentina who got a scholarship to go. There was a long jumper from Trinidad, long jump and triple jump. Eugene was better than him, a lot better than him. But they got the scholarship to go. I did not go. There was a 400 meters runner from St. Vincent, actually. He went. I can't remember his name now. And I don't think I remember his name. It's hard for me to remember those names now. And he went, and their improvement was remarkable. And I was told, that man put me sit down and he asked me how much I'm throwing just standing throws, the most I can throw. And I could have thrown 60 meters standing throw. I did that in Finland. I stood up and threw 60 meters for him to see.
And in clarifying that stand up, meaning
I
that
did
without
not
a run up,
run
right? Without a run up,
without
yeah.
a run up.
Mhm.
Then he asked me how much I will throw with a 3-step run up. I say I can throw 63, 64 with 3 steps. And how much I will throw with a full run up. And I would only throw perhaps, I think it was 220 feet with a full run up. And he said, no, it's impossible. He said, if you're throwing that 60 meters stand up, that's 200 feet standing, then you can throw 60 more feet, 60 to 80 feet running. And I never got that scholarship. And it hurt me, but when Ray came and told me that I can't be Junior Maury again and I can't do this and what, I went back competing and what. At that time, we were not getting scholarships in Grenada. At that time, they were doing the building, just after that, they were building the stadium. And I was throwing 70 something meters, 73, 74 meters at that time. I said, well, I'm going to that games. And that's when we encouraged the coaches that were coming. We went to Puerto Rico. And then we encourage the coaches coming from the States, and they were going to Trinidad to intercall, and they came to Tantine in the intercall, boy, and that was it. We left. We skyrocketed. We gone from there onwards. Now, they saw Alan Francis run, and some of the coaches who knew me in character games were saying, no, that can't be Modeste. That can't be Trevor throwing steel. Especially that one of the coaches from Cooper, Bradley Cooper, and another one from the Bahamas. They say, no, that can't be Trevor Modeste. That's an old man. How come he's still throwing? And then I spoke to them and I explained to them why we're not going anywhere. And after that, man, coaches start flying into Grenada. And that's when we start selling ourselves. When you send people out there, especially managers and coaches, you don't go only to look at the games that coach your students. You go to get the coaches to come down. You go to buy coaches. You go to sell Grenada. You go sell the island. So that, okay, what's the man name again? Dandarat.
Gordon Ward.
Right. I go talk to fellas, they come in Grenada, we go in the airport and meet them, we can't put them in hotel, who stay by Dandarat, who stay where? Man, that's what you have to do.
But the argument will be that was then. Times have changed.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
It is the same thing. Homestay. You have a nice apartment downstairs. I have it. I have an apartment downstairs. The condition remains the same. The development has moved from one place in the 80s to the 20th century. We have homestay. You understand? So it's the same thing. It remains the same. You telling me all of them want to live in a hotel? Nah, man. Some fellas want to lime. They want to do everything like the locals. They want to go and live and eat the same oil down. They want to go and taste the rum. They want to go in the rivers. They want to go on the beach just like you. They want to live like you. Imagine my partner, forensic pathologist, he's from Grenadian descendants. And he's coming to Grenada to work. Government's supposed to put him up in a hotel. Sometimes he don't stay in a hotel. He come in Fontenay and stay by me. And that's the level. You telling me that we don't have somebody, I'm making sure one of the ministers, you go and talk to them and they'll say, man, watch a man. He go line with me. My first time going to Character Games, what's the man named St. John?
Roy St. John?
I think it was Roy St. John.
He was a former minister of sport.
No, he was a minister of sports again, man. He was out.
He was out at the time, yeah.
Yes.
Well, the St. John we have.
But we were going to Character Games and we didn't have a cent. I went with $5 and something cents. And he made sure he gave us money. I mean, we compete and we were not competing for, we were going for the ride. We were going because we're going to see places. We were going because we want to meet people. We want to break the records. We never saw further than that. And as I'm saying that now, I'm coming to strategic planning. What is plans for track and field? What is the aim? What is the strategic plan? How are we going to be there? What's the plan put down so that we will move from one level to the next? We are not seeing that. You must do those things. I've been in a police force that has been a very disciplined police force, even though every now and then you get some bad apples, because that's the country. That's what we have. And that's what we get from the country. That's what you get from the pool. And you take it from the pool and you put strategic plans in place so that you will move from one level to the next. We have moved from being a no-mention police force to the top police force in the Caribbean. And our standard is dropping again. Now, if we did not have strategic plans being put in place, we would not have been at that level. Education too. What is the educational plans or policies in regards to your athletes? You must put strategy. In furthermore, let me ask the question: is there a strategic plan for education in Grenada? Are we aiming at guessing at how much thousands of jobs we want to create in a specific field? So we are training people to fill those positions in the next 5, 10, 15 years. How much students we want qualify with chemistry, in agronomy, in accounting, in social science, so they can become police officers? Do we have those plans? What is the plan in every school to get towards that? What's the plan in every area of track and field or sport in general to develop that? I finished one career. I wanted to be a scientist. I never knew, understood when I said I wanted to be a scientist, actually. But I'm still saying I want to be a police officer, and I'm still saying that I want to be a farmer. I've been a police officer and I've been a scientist. So that's one career gone. I'm a farmer now, and I'm in food processing. Well, you'll get some of my products already, and it's big now. You understand? Because I planned for those things. I didn't understood what it was. It came into my mind. I write it down, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and then I reached that level. So my next career has just begun.
Did you get that trophy for the Sportsman of the Year finally? Pele Dabo wants to know.
Pele, like I said before, Pele was one of my mentors and agitators. Pele was one of the fellas. Pele, man, used to make me feel like if I was nobody and I had to go back and fight to show him that I can do it. Pele, Ray, and Ray Roberts, man. If you don't have fellas like Pele and Ray Roberts, you can't reach nowhere. Pele tell me my products ain't good. I go back and fix my health products. Pele told me, look, we're going to you gotta get some money, and that's the bank would give me some money after I won Sportsman the 81st year. I got the trophy, but I didn't get the money. Never get it back on bank account. But I got the trophy. And I was just looking at the second Sportsman of the Year, the second trophy. I was just looking at it up there. Mm-hmm. But the first trophy, one of my daughters broke it up. But the second trophy is still here with me. Let me see if I got it.
Wow. Impressive.
Right.
Accomplishments over the years, right?
Accomplishments over the years. And it's less than a quarter. Mm. Because the fellow who got shot recently in Fontenay, he was one of my students. Come here, teach him how to do computers, and they supposed with trophies and whatnot. He got trophies. He went down home at his home with it.
You're speaking of the swimmer, Chris Regis?
Of course.
Okay, right.
Man, I taught them to use the computer and everything. We have the one that is goalkeeper for Grenada. What's his name? Pete Batiste.
Yeah, let me get the first name. I know the Batiste you're speaking about. Yeah,
right. You know the father and mother were police officers.
Yeah, the late Kellon, Chiron.
All of them. I have to give all of them. Even the sister, I had to give trophies also.
Yeah, that was
I
killer.
had to give everybody trophies. I used to, Paula School, we used to organize a thing in Paradise, and I had to go Paradise St. Andrews. Everybody, I donate trophies. So trophies I won, I donate. You had to do that. You need athletes to develop. Uncle, I still say Uncle Gary. He gave me orange trees and mango trees when I was a small boy. That's from the competition in Paradise and things like that. You get something, and you could look back at it. When you look at Vida Bruno and all the outside, Keen and all them people outside there, those were people who were out there, they were elder than me, and they did things that I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be outstanding like them, and I pushed.
Well, speaking about Vida, she said that Trevor was an outstanding athlete, but also a good human being that helped many athletes, especially in his favorite sport, javelin. He has devoted so much of his time to our young people, and I'm glad to listen to you. That point she's making there about dedicating so much of your time to helping young people, especially in javelin. Obviously, the likes of Paul Phillip and others who have now pushed on to the Anderson Peters and others. I'm
But let
certainly
me tell you something.
proud of that.
Paul, okay. There was a year, this thin, tall fella came and he wanted to throw javelin. That was Paul. And I started coaching and encouraging him. And I said, man, you have to get muscles, man. And then he brought another thin fella, who used to run the 800, Kieran Francis. And Kieran told me, he said, Mr. Morris, I want you to teach me to throw javelin. I said, but you're too thin, man. I said, do some push-ups and come back next year. I said, I want you to make sure that you start doing 5 push-ups. If you want to stay on your knee and do it, but do it. So when you come back next year, you're supposed to be doing 50 push-ups. When he came back in next year, I can't remember how much push-ups he was doing, but I made sure when I started coaching him, he was the first person that broke my record. And he didn't stay in Grenada and do it. And I was the only person that coached myself in Grenada and throw 70-something meters without coach and in Grenada. Everybody else, they had to get specialized coaches and they go outside and develop and come to break it. Now, Kieran was one of my best motivators. I said, look, if I can do it, I can teach anybody. I thought your fellow announcer, Janice, what I can't remember her name, man.
Augustine?
Oh?
Janice Augustine.
Janice Augustine, man. She used to come from St. David's and come to Queen's Park so that I can coach them. But, doing crime scene investigation, at times when I come to train late, and they would play in the fool, man, and I used to tell them they have to study. And, man, I pushed that schoolwork plus the sporting events. When they got their subjects, they were glad to thank me. I remember one of the young fellas, he was Patrick, he's a vet, I think he is. He's supposed to be a vet, went to study veterinarian science anyhow. And he was one of the students that passed 4 subjects for the CAXC. And I said, no, you can't be doing 4 subjects. You ain't coming by me here and do 4 subjects. Go back and tell the principal I said that you have to do 8. The next day when he came back to train, I said, did you tell the principal? He told me no. I said, why you didn't tell him? Tell me, you can't tell him. I said, you weren't training here until you go and tell him. He went, he told the principal. Principal told him, Mr. Modeste tell you that? He said, yes. Say, okay, well, you have to get extra work to work up. He did 8 subjects, he got 8 subjects. And a few students, well, that happened too. Students like Kim, Rhonda, Henry, was a nice tall girl from Happy Hill. She didn't like me at all until she won that discus event, boy. And I think I was way on the other side when she won that discus event in Intercon. That girl run right across, come and hug me up. As first, she was glad. She used to say I didn't like her. I used to pressure her and things like that. But when you see the potential in some students, man, you have to get them to do the work. I have never forgot what Michelle Hercules and her attitude towards me. And if it wasn't for Michelle Hercules, perhaps I would have backed out. Then there were some people in Grenville, man. We growing up, and when I used to go, when we didn't have Javelin and we used to walk, I used to walk, go all over the Grenada to cut the Blue Maho. Even though you cut 4 pieces, you make 4 or 5 throws. Sometimes the most you will get from them is about 4 or 5 throws from one, and they done. Until we got that bamboo stool over the granite tank, and then we start boring little hole and put some sand in the bamboo and make sure that we have good javelins. Now, I used to be training at in Paradise River, throwing the stones and also throwing bamboo and pieces of wood.
Is that what they call the Rosa? I see Christine Smith.
Sometimes I used to do it with the Roso. Yeah, we used to do Roso also.
I'm looking at the comment from Christine Smith that's talking about throwing your Rosa by the river.
That's she, man. That's Christine, man. And Christine used to vex. After a while, when I get so outstanding, Christine used to say, I get old. I think I had 36 years. And Christine, give them young people a chance. This, that. I said, let them beat me first. And Christine, I remember when she was upset. She said, man, move there. I said, Christine, I'm going to throw and I'm going to bring the record again. You can't make it. You never train. All these murder cases you're going and deal with. How you going to do it? And I threw it for the last time and I broke the national record again, man. That was motivation.
There is this comment here about very interesting conversation, Mr. Modeste. You did well. Even as a police officer, you made it possible for officer athletes to compete on a regional level. And I think I heard when I first posted the promo that you'll be on the program, I saw some comments relating to your involvement in getting officers to compete in those regional meets.
Okay. Now, when I was in SAS, that was during the revolution, and the force had to be sold. The force had to be marketed, and the revolutionaries were looking for ways to market the force. And I was the shining star that they could have used to market the force. So you had fellas like Mr. Dog, who was a marathon runner. You had fellas like Eugene Liquich, all of them, real outstanding athletes coming in and joining the force. And I go in, I am competing all over the Caribbean, police-wise as well as national-wise. And at one time, I think we had a World Police Games, and the Trinidadians wanted to compete in World Police Games. And I think perhaps I was the only person that was, no, there were 2 or 3 of us that qualified to compete at World Police Games. We wanted to go as a Grenadian team also. We wanted to go as a Grenadian team, our Caribbean team, and we could not go. Trinidad went. They didn't do well. But because of that and because of the level I was at, you had police officers all over the Caribbean fighting to reach that level. Even though there was some before me, but they were not that, outstanding. Only one person that was that outstanding was Noel from Trinidad, because he was on the relay team that won goal with what's the fella name again? Hazley Crawford. And all of us we get together and we walk right through the Caribbean. We went so far that we were able to negotiate and monitor the areas. Like when we were competing, we would go say like Trinidad to compete. And we would leave Trinidad and come up to Barbados. One ticket, and leave Trinidad and Barbados and end up in St. Vincent and come to Grenada and then go back down. And we were doing that all the time. And while I was doing that, I was studying. I was working, and I was sports, track and field at that time was not track and field for me. It was my job. That was my duty. I work. My job used to be to go and train, to develop myself, to win, to sell the force, and to sell Grenada. And still come back and solve crime. That was my job. And then the first time, I think it was, what's her name, boy? She had a stroke at one time. She's so officiate. Oh gosh. Help me now, man. She was in electoral office too.
Someone will help us. We have
Benoit. Judy Benoit.
Oh, Judy Benoit. Okay.
Man, Judy Benoit called me aside one day and she said, Trevor, you have to speak to young people. I said, why? She said, Trevor, with your experience, you have to speak to young people. You have to motivate them. You have to get them to see the light. And I couldn't understand what she was telling me until years after when I saw her son, because I used to be speaking to him all the time and encouraging him. And then I started that thing. It was Gittins, Mount Gittins Pharmacy, and that tall man with the spice basket.
Dolan.
Yeah, they met me one day. I said, look.
That's Mr. Hugh Dolan.
Yeah, he said, you have to motivate people, man. You have to chat with young fellas. And I mean, I never knew that I had that gift until Miss Celia Klein's husband met me once and he spoke to me and he said, you see, just as you're speaking to them criminal and changing them, I want you to speak to young people and change them. Whether it's in sports, whether after they commit a crime, that's what I want you to do. And I just started doing it. So when like Vida and them talking about what I do for students and young people and things, it just perhaps it's natural and I just do it. I just chat, motivate them, get them to do stuff. Look, for example, the fellow who's the procurement officer, Ministry of Health now. When after Ivan, he was just lying, playing the fool. And I said, no, man, you can't have all these subjects and like that. And I encourage him to write for position. He went to Ministry of Health. I encourage him to get us call that he went to India. Now he's procurement officer. Do you have Jackson again? Jackson still working with but I sent him to do construction. He had 13 subjects and he ain't working. I said, man, do construction, man. When he went to his first interview, they asked him, say, look, what are you doing? He said, construction. Why are you doing construction? He said, he was instructed by Mr. Modeste to go and do construction. Who Modeste? Sergeant Modeste. He ended up doing 3 jobs one time. One of them was with American Airlines. American Airlines moved him from Grenada to the United States. And that's the level.
By extension, he's now a manager. He's a manager with American Airlines.
He's a manager now.
Yeah, he's also a manager. He's over in Texas.
Man, he makes me proud, man. He made me proud. There was an athlete too, Mawson. I can't remember. Mawson is his surname, from Montserrat. And I encourage him. And sports, track and field gives you a level of determination that you can't get it anyway. That mold you, that passion is molded in you by participating in that sport. And he is now an engineer working in Texas, airline engineer working in Texas. And he was a police officer. And it's because of motivation from me, he's doing that. Outstanding athlete.
Trevor, you talking now, and you indicated early in the program that you're not retired. So I assume you're going through the period of pre-retirement, is it? No? Or you
No, no, no. I'm retired.
okay.
No.
So you retired.
Last month, 19th, just 1 month and a few days.
Okay.
1 month and 4 days, 5 days.
Officially you have retired. So
Yeah.
and I know that through your tenure in the Royal Grenada Police Force, and especially through CSI, there was some fuss, and not just in Grenada, but I believe could be probably in the OECS or possibly the Caribbean in terms of investigations. You want to share with us some of those things?
Yeah. I don't look at CSI and those things. The reason I don't look at it is because it's too easy for a man to solve a case in those things, and the whole population tend to think that it's just easy. When you're a crime scene investigator or forensic investigator, you have 2 to 3 sets of forces against you. One, your administration is against you. They support you, but they're still against you. You have your peers at administration, they're against you. Then you have the people, the public, and in Grenada, it's the boss men, most of all. They support you and they still against you because they find you taking too long. You should solve that case the next day. I remember going and train one day and a boss man telling me, you going and train, go and solve the damn case. I say, well, I done solve the case already. How you mean you done solve the case already? This morning, the man killed the woman. I say, but I solved it already. I'm going and train. And they couldn't believe. So you have to think in terms of that. Then you have the people now who are, their academic level is at a certain height. They are the top academians in the country, and they tend to think that police are dunce, you dunce, you're backward, and you can't get things done. And you can't do that in Grenada. And that belittles a lot of police officers. It didn't deter me. I think perhaps because I'm an athlete and I'm determined, those things did not deter me. And I'll give you an example when I felt real proud. That's when I did the shoe print case.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you exactly about that, and I see Randy is putting up the shoe print guru.
Oh, that's one of my students again, man. Not just students, I used to babysit Randy. They joined the force because of me. I advise him, I instruct him.
Well, Randy is
Where
still
he is today is because
yeah.
where he is today is because I encourage him and guide him to get that. And they all make me proud, man. I feel proud of those fellas.
He's still a police officer of the islands, right?
Right. Yeah, I know that. No,
Right.
that Shupri case, after I finished giving evidence in that case, and after the case finished, a lady came up to me. She said, Mr. Modeste, she's a qualified nurse. And she was not working at the hospital. She came, and I think she was living in Lansapine. She came up to me. She said, Mr. Modeste, I am surprised. I could not believe that we have somebody in Grenada with that type of qualification. I used to ask myself why and how police are solving cases in Grenada. And I could not believe when I heard your qualification. I am surprised. If my son tell me that he's joining the force today, I can accept that in confidence today, that he will be able to go to the force and develop himself. Before, if he had asked me that, I'll curse him from thy kingdom come. If my son come from university and he tells me, I am going to join this force, I will feel happy because of your job. When she told me that, man, I felt so good. And that's when I was told that our police force is tops in the Caribbean. And I couldn't believe. My second Chuprin case, when the fellas fought with the bandit from Trinidad who came from Trinidad, the executioner from Trinidad, because he said he come in Juku to Grenada and Juku to investigator come and say line a name and say get his footprint, and criminals in the prison say, man, don't come here and bash with police officer. Or police officer, a big boy, don't come and bash with police officer in prison, man. Imagine that fellas just come from prison and I come to see me. I was frightened the first time. Second time I was frightened. All the times I was frightened until one day I get to understand that. And then one come and he say, look, I need somebody to stand security for me. And I have a boat now because of that. I stood security for him. I used to get fish and all kind of thing from him. I stand security, end up paying, finishing pay for the boat for him and every damn thing. Man, these things, when you do those things, you live in, fellas live and they don't enjoy life. I live and I enjoy every aspect of my investigative life and my sporting life. Or when our PM asking me to explain cases for him, how investigation go, man, I used to feel proud. Fellas just think I'm going to bring news for him and all kind of thing. Man, when you run away and all, my Prime Minister, Dr. Mitchell used to run away and come across by me to hear some cases. And I don't call them fellas and say, the chief by me, Dr. Dragon, Dr. Friday, all these fellas coming to hear, how are you doing it? Old magistrate was my mother's principal. He was the man who sent security for me to go to study. Not doctor, but St. Louis. When I was doing that case, prime sister's case, when they said that the husband killed her there, the grammar zone, I didn't have grammar zone in St. George's, I didn't have grammar zone. I didn't have a lab, the lab was my home. The lab was outside in CID. The lab was open air. And he and his wife came down with the grammar zone for me to do it. Because they had confidence in the job that I was doing. And when I do, and I recognize it's about one mouthful she drank with equivalent to two tablespoons, of Gramazone that killed her. When I do all the experiment home and I give the evidence, I'm the only man in Grenada that the defense summoned to come and give evidence for the defense. I gave evidence for the prosecution, then come back and give evidence for the defense in regard to that case. I did all my experiment, even getting enough. I think it was Kaji and who say, mothers, get a old doll and a fan and do all the experiment, do everything so that you could. I say, man, I don't think I'm doing that because nobody believes in me. He said, do your experiment, man, do it. Not because you come from Paradise Estate, I come from Happy Estate too. Do it. And I did it. And I enjoyed it. We were planning to write some of my stories. Not Peleda, but Rado Griffith, one of my mentors again, playing football, and when Rado came up in Progress Park and played football, and I get to like Rado, he never knew until he turned big man and whatnot. And then Rado, I went to lecture in a developmental thing. I can't remember the name of the thing there. And then Rado asked me why I don't become a teacher to teach that at a certain level, to teach the investigative sciences. I said, well, I could do it, but I mean, how to organize it? And Rado started giving me hints and trying to develop me to reach that level. And then he said, we were discussing a case, and I was explaining to him, and Rado said, shit, man, someone is waiting to write a book. I said, well, I wrote on a case already. It's the center of the book. It's called Forensic Toolkit for the University of the West Indies. He said, well, write a book. And then Brado Paul, you know Paul, the goalkeeper, my
Paul
good
Roberts?
friend Paul Roberts, lazy Paul Roberts. I still tell him that all the time. You've played football, you're lazy. But that's my friend. That's the fellas that push me. With you know, Pigeon. Or is he was he his brother named Pigeon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Pigeon, Jericho, Bull, and I, and Tigis. And he used to push me. And Paul playing, goalkeeping lazy, playing lazy. And Paul is the one that don't make the book start. I do everything. I started a recorded some. Paul brought his daughter as an audience once. That's to tell you how far we went. And she was so impressed. She said, "Come on, Dad, y'all get together. I write the book." And we still waiting on Paul, and then Rado could get sick, and I get sick. And Rado say, "We could have do the book already." But you know, as I retire now, I think I'll do it on my own with my daughters, one of them, because those are cases that you could tell, you could teach young police officers. My track record in regards to investigation was superb. I think it's second to none. Based on my old principal, not principal, but my old superintendent, Mr. Stanislaus. He was a prosecutor, and he told me, say, "Look, when you hear you go on a crime scene, that's your crime scene. Not the commissioner, nobody. That's yours. You in charge. Me, if I come and you want to make me go, make me go. That's your crime scene." I never forget that, and I use that. And that's what built me as an investigator. Man, when you look at people who push me, who encourage me, as according to Pastor King, Bishop King, you're not your own man, you know. You're Grenada. Grenada is you. Everybody in Grenada own you. And that's how I see it. That's how I feel. I mean, yes, I get fed up. I wanted to leave Grenada. When Dr. Mitchell said, "Man, it's for your development. You want to go? You offer me 10,000 EC a month." He said, "If you want to go, go. It's for your own development." But boy, I go miss you. And Grenada, I go miss you. When he said it, it's how he said it. I had to change my mind. I go, but I come back. When you have people, like you're walking down in town, and an Indian man, an owner of a store, an Indian store, or an owner of a Syrian store, and they could recognize you and call you and congratulate you on the work that you're doing. It speaks volume. When you walk into a rum shop in town as a police officer, and people calling you out and talking to you and hugging you. When you're walking town by the you call the market, and vagrants stopping doing what they're doing and saying, "Mr. Modeste, how are you doing today?" and whatnot. You must feel proud. You must know that you did something in this country.
Do you think that through sports,
Everything is sports.
well, it'll help you
Everything is sports.
excel in as a police officer?
Everything in sports. That determination in sports is what drives me. Let me give you one example. Toolmark identification. River Sally Credit Union was broken into. They use a bolt cutter to cut the lock. It took me 2 months. It took me a day to match the bolt cutter with the cut and the lock. And it took me 2 months to take the photograph to show, because you know you don't have proper equipment, so you don't do it over and over. And I used to take hours taking photographs. And it took me 2 months to get a good photograph with the teeth marks of the bowl quota that I molded onto the cut and the padlock. 2 months. And an officer used to come, the investigating officer used to come every living day to sit. And one day he said, Mr. Morris, I no understand why you're such a good sportsman. I say, what? He said, you ain't giving up. I said, but how I will give up them a job? I have to do it. And then, just saying that, and I recognize that, look, man, sports give you that determination. And every top-notch person, anybody in Grenada that wrote something, they were outstanding in sports. Look around and you're going to see it. What you is him catching that hood? How much career he went to? He went through teacher, he ain't going politics yet. He go in politics just now too. Teacher, permanent secretary, lawyer, pastor, outstanding sportsman. Look at it and you're seeing it, that level of determination. And it's not, you can't stop. You must move from one to the next because of that participation in sports, that level that you have gone through.
There are some comments I want to share with you. Someone sent me a message outside of the chat. Gretel Charles, she wants me to ask you if you remember, but she says that from SAS and you helped coaching. She represented Grenada in the character games in Jamaica back in 1988. And
I know that name.
Right, you would have helped. Yeah, I think I recall the name to Gretel Charles back in 1988 character games, and she wants to extend thanks. And then your good friend George Gotti Robertson. Yeah. Gotti Robertson is saying there's only one Trevor Modeste. I was older, but he was also a role model to me. His humility, generosity, and the support he gave me during my administrative tenure. When it comes to discipline, thanks, bro. I advise one of my friends to make sure Trevor's interview today will be the best. Within 40 minutes, she agreed. And then Cleve Depredine is saying, I'm still convinced there are many like Modeste who are still willing to give back, but impeded because of the simple courtesy of extended a thank you. A virtue we must improve on as we move forward beyond our familiar enclave, safe, secure space.
Who's Clever? Who's this Depredine man?
That's Toro's brother.
Oh.
Yeah. Cleve.
That man's supposed to be that my uncle.
Well, Cleve.
They snooks. If it's not uncle, like we cousin, they snooks
well, yeah, that's Snooks. Yeah, you related to Snooks.
Snooks nephew.
Right. That's so. Right. Cleve and Toro. Welcome to your family, Trevor Modeste.
Right, man.
Harold is saying, "Hi, Trevor. I'm really enjoying it.
Man, I'm a partner.
Please explain why you think that a young person in Grenada today can aspire to become a police officer and be confident they can have a fruitful career." Harold is asking this question. How do you think a young person can aspire to become a police officer and be confident they can have a fruitful career?
You see, it's the individual to utilize the opportunities that are there. It depends on the individual. There may be distractions, but it's the individual, and an individual can be anything he wants if he joins the police force. He can become a lawyer, can be a forensic scientist as me. He can even be a doctor. You can develop in that level. Now, we had you remember I spoke about strategic planning. We had a strategic plan in regards to move from a force where we just get people with degrees just coming in the force, and to get professionals. And some of the first set of men who got the opportunity with this scholarship, they abuse it. police officers were able to go to study and get their salaries. You would still be a police officer when you come back. Yeah, nothing about after 5 years you're done. No, you remain a police officer. If you do medicine on the side, you'll be able to do your medical practice, but you will still be a police officer. If you are an interpreter, a linguist, you're a police officer. Anytime the police needs you, you must perform as a police officer. But you will do your other little thing on the side. That's the level we were at. Now, to get there, one of the things you must have is a police memorial. The police memorial is only to market and sell the achievements of police officers. And also to emulsify the effect that the police force had on some police officers. For example, police officers may be wrongly and unjustly dealt with in the force. And after years, you get to know that that's the case. But because every year you must put people on the memorial and achievements on the memorial, you may have to posthumously promote, recommend, commend officers. That would augur well for marketing and selling the force. And your ex-police association would play a pivotal role in making sure those things happen. Ex-police officers and also your officers' corps in the force, the current officers' corps, will make sure that those things happen. And when these things happen, you would find young people, not through sports anymore, but because of achievements, joining the force. After I joined the force and win Sportsman of the Year, first time, second time, you had fellas leaving secondary school and joining the force. And young fellas got an opportunity to develop themselves. You have young fellas now, a whole batch of people in training school. They have associate degree. One batch, every one have an associate degree. We want to move from the stage of associate degree also and move from this and move to this stage of professional development. You must, and it's the avenue is there. You can get it. We have a very young commissioner now. You have a long time to run this police force. He has a degree. His father said he must be, his father was a police officer. That father said he must be commissioner. He said, you and my son must be commissioner. Either he commissioner or you deputy commissioner. And when Martin and I were sergeants together and we spoke about it, I told Martin I want to be a commissioner. But an assistant commissioner, I want to be in charge of crime. He said, man, how are you going to talk about crime? Nothing more. I said, no, you will be commissioner. I will be in crime. I mean, it just happened that I stay as long as I'm supposed to stay and mold Martin, assist him, back him up to get the work done. But any young person today who wants to develop, who loves to read, and who loves to develop themselves can achieve anything in the police force. And one of the main things that they have to understand is that they should not forget their position. They should not forget where they are coming from. Man, I mean, every vagrant in town know me. I always have an open office. Anybody could walk into my office. You know, the first time I went as an ACP in charge crime, they asked me, so you can't make people coming up in your office like that? I said, well, I can't help it. That's how I am. In CID, every constable could have come to my office. Everybody came to my office. Yeah, I don't make no appointment to come by me. Whether commission or not, no. You come. You call me, you tell me you're coming. A lady quite insulted. She ain't no head. I ain't know her from head not tail. Somebody tell her about me. She called me. She said she wanted to see me. I say, okay, come. When you could come, she said she coming tomorrow. She came the next day. We solved a heaping set of break-ins. A woman in Belmont cost me head not tail, cost me upside down in tongue once. And I didn't know why she cussing me, and then she just whisper, "So and so that break so and so place," and she gone she way, and she was cussing me. You understand? That's the level you as a police officer. Don't matter your rank, don't matter your station, don't matter what you're doing. As a commissioner and as a police officer of a certain level, you must be able to walk into any store, any place in town, any back street, you know the back street, and then we use in St. John Street to go on St. Jude Street, where we used to pass through all
Yeah,
about in the back there. You
yeah.
must be able to know those places. You must be able to end up by Super from St. John Street, from the market. You go by Mr. Cloud there and end up on St. John Street. You must be able to do all those things. Unless you don't know them things that I'm not doing it. It don't make sense. You must be able to walk in tongue and somebody call you. That's why you have drilling. That you drill and the instructor and the drilling and the square balling for you and telling you things so that you could develop that level of tolerance. You must be able to develop. And unless you ain't get the thing, it don't make sense. And as a sportsman, that is the second part. When you're throwing javelin, are you long jumping, a high jumping? The judges, their influence, how they look at you, how they call your name, because you're competing and you're super sensitive. Every vibes they exude, you feels it. And if you're not controlled properly, you can't make it. In sports, I get fight down. There was a time we were competing in Trinidad. I showed 60.09 meters. First, they wanted to cheat. The Trinidadian showed, he beat me. He showed 60, no, it was 69.09 meters. And the Trinidadian showed 69.10 meters. I know I lose, but first they want to thief. You throw 60.09, 60.90. I show 60.09. The tape showing me 60.09, but they take the quick and they put 60.90 and they put it Trinidad at 69.90 and they put it Trinidad at 69.10. I end up winning. He won. So you as a sportsman and a police, those things come together. Those level of tolerance you have to develop that much. Everything you have to look at, every feelings. I don't know in my job as a police officer which was better, which actually developed me the most, which I gained the most from. Whether it's my studies as a forensic scientist or the influence as a sportsman and people giving me the information. I don't know which helped me the most. I can't tell you. All I know, sports was a duty. When I performed in a sport meet in Grenada, I got information and I got connections. It was, you remember that robbery at Decal gas station? if I was not taking part in sports, if I was not participating in sports, that lady would not have come the night to tell me who she saw checking money the morning of the robbery. If I was just a police officer, she wouldn't have bothered to come and tell me anything. But she know me as Trevor Modeste, the athlete. So she come and check me and tell me. And let me tell you another thing too. A lot of people in Grenada, up to today, cannot equate, that cannot parallel Trevor Modeste, the athlete, and Trevor Modeste, the police officer. They think, some of them think it's two different persons, but it's the one of the and the same person. And another thing too, friends call me Trevor Modeste. Anytime somebody call me Trevor or Modeste, I know they didn't know me from young. Anytime somebody says Trevor Modeste, it's like one name, Trevor Modeste. I know this person know me for long, for years. And nobody call me Mr. Modeste and Mr. Trevor. Everybody say Modesto or Trevor Modeste.
Just getting back to the so Cleve has confirmed that yes, and he go as far as saying cousins, right? Okay.
Right.
So
Tell him Plura coming up just now. So get ready. Go and ready the bag.
yeah, so he did say that. But there's a question here from Lincoln Depredine, your cousin, because he's the brother of Cleve, and he's saying that well, the question is, James Clarkson has been a sports coach and national footballer. As commissioner, was Clarkson's presence impact Trevor as a fellow police officer and also a national sportsman?
Clarkson's greatest achievement is Trevor Modeste. That's all I will say. Clarkson has never achieved nothing more than Trevor Modeste. That's his greatest achievement. That's the answer.
Just like that?
Clarkson's greatest achievement is Trevor Modeste.
So, in essence, we are speaking to Clarkson as well.
No, you're not speaking to Clarkson. If it was not for Clarkson, Clarkson came to the school to get me, to sell the force, to market the force. Even all the work Clarkson do, it can't compare to what I did. But because of what I did, Clarkson was a better police officer than he was. Clarkson brought me to Cuba to train when I went to train in Cuba. All the achievements, the majority of my achievements, first set, was within Clarkson time. Even though my greatest achievement was in Bido's time, because Bido had me as his son. If I ask Bido for anything, he believed I will do it. When I asked Bido for, the first time I asked Bido for an electrostatic machine, he said, "What are you doing with that? What it is?" And I said, "Well, so if I get that, I'll solve so much crime, you're surprised." I got the electrostatic machine, and I got a light, a powerful forensic light they call Mr. Bigfoot. The first day I used it, I solved a murder. Second day, 2 murders in 2 days. And I went from there onwards. And I had good teachers in the force. You had Mr. Lawrence. I didn't meet him as in the force, but he was a javelin thrower. Outstanding javelin thrower. He was the most outstanding. He had the national record at one time. I think that's Randa Henry's father. I'd go spoil my cousin, who's outstanding javelin thrower again. Alexander. Then you had CID, Mr. Joseph, who took me under his wing when I came from studying in Cuba. And I had commissioners that believed in every living thing I do. And man, Mr. Thompson again. Hello, man, he used to go down well. Man, he believed in every living thing I do. You had Mr. James in the beginning we had a little kind of rivalry because, Mr. James was one of the most outstanding investigators we had. And I come with a different level of investigation. And we had a kind of little rivalry. But when Mr. James stood up and protected me for an investigation in Grenville with Archibald, I was surprised. And I worked harder and harder from then. I studied and I worked, I studied and worked. I used to be taking fellas shoe prints all over training school. And fellas will leave their shoes in the barracks. I'm making prints of it and do my stuff. Shoes in mud. Barefooted prints and all them things. I studied that until I used to think about it, dream about it. Just as I always think and dream about javelin up to today, that's how I used to think and dream about those things as an athlete. You had Ian St. Bernard. Man, these men push me. You had fellas like, what's his name again? Mr. John, the engineer, who told me, I think it was a bloodstain pattern interpretation case I was doing. And he stopped and questioned me about what I was doing and whatnot. And he said, look, when I do one evaluation, no doubt back after I do it. I want you to continue to study and develop yourself. And when you come to a conclusion, no dog should back after you do it. And I tell you, everybody had an effect in my development. Every living body. And I did it. Whether it's sports, whether as an individual, it was there. I mean, you have imagine that you have sports in Grenville. Eastern Games are what? And javelin competition start at 1 o'clock, around 4 o'clock, you can't finish. And first year fellas through it.
But I'm seeing this comment there saying that I believe if you were my coach, I'll still be throwing javelin, up to today. What's now that you have retired, Trevor, are you thinking about getting into coaching almost on a full-time basis, especially?
Okay, I left out that, man. Let me go back to Paul Philip. Paul Philip now, everything that I know, Paul Philip knows it. You understand? And we still communicate. He come to visit me. Anderson Peters was supposed to come with him one day, but he didn't make it. But Paul Philip come to and check me. I supposed to go to St. David's Secondary School and do some motivational chat with the athletes and all the athletes, national athletes that are overseas, and they have returned to Grenada. I have to do a little workshop with them. So I'm not fully in coaching and whatnot, but if there is any difficulty and if there's guidance that needed to be shared, I'm available and I go and do it. It's SARS one people, call on one people in GBSS, I want to do something. They still call on me, they still look for me to do it. And I do it.
Well, it's glad to know that. Let me see. This year is actually Snooks. I think he's somewhere in that photo here. And he was actually buried. As far as I heard, he was buried this week.
Last week.
Oh, last week. Okay, yeah.
Friday.
Friday. Okay, last Friday. Okay. Yeah.
I can't recognize unless that's him, but I don't think I recognize him.
It's somewhere in the middle. He's in the middle here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in the middle. I can recognize him. Yeah. So that's Snoops there. Thanks to your cousin, Clem Depardine, for providing that photo.
Right. Clem Depardine, Errol George, Paul George, my cousin, River Road. I think he related to you.
Paul George is living in Canada, right? Resides in Canada.
Right.
Right.
That's my cousin too. First
Okay.
cousin. Two
Well,
brothers,
Paul.
children.
Okay. Well, Paul. Daughter is representing
Canada.
Canada in the hurdles, right?
Right.
Yeah. In fact, she's a twin, right? Boy and girl.
Right.
Boy and girl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So River Road and probably by extension your cousins come from a very a sporting background.
Of course. Of course. Well, listen, it's our first DNA case that we did in Grenada. We get to realize that the possibility exists that no more than 2 women are responsible for all the people in Grenada.
Really?
No more than 2 women. The DNA is so close in Grenada, you might be surprised.
So somewhere or the other, we all related?
We all related in Grenada. And when you hear people say those things, don't deny. For example, look at my grandfather, my father. He would leave Got, put on the buggles, jump on the mule, and go to Paul's to spend a holiday. Then go Ladig, come down St. David's, go Mount Fanasos, Victoria, and back up in Got. And you have children all over. Jay, Jay living in River Road, used to work in the radio station.
Yeah.
Jay from Mount John Philip.
Yeah.
That's my cousin. First cousin. So you understand? John Philip is not from Grenville, he's from St. George's. And this old man, that's what they used to do. And they had this influence and they go right around the country and do that. If you look again at like Lacroix Apostle and all these fellas and them, that's what their life. And look at the few surnames we have. You have the Clarks, you have Modeste, you have the Pauls, the Bukas, the Bascoms, the Maurice, Bascom and Maurice related to. When you put all those surnames together, you recognize that, look, it's coming down just to a few people. Check the amount of estates he had in Grenada. And you're recognizing that one stud moved from one estate to the next. You move one mother from one young bearing female from one estate to the next, and you're recognizing what happened.
You need to get that
was one of the principles I use in actually understanding the crime and the crime trend in Grenada, and the influence of alcohol and influence of the cane mill and the cane factories, the rum factories, and the tenement yards, where they settled. That's how Telescope, where you have crime there, Paradise, where you have crime, Moncton, where you have the crime, Pulse. That all in places, when you go there and you see, the old mill, you know that there was an old mill, so you know right or wrong, there must have been a settlement. The slave settlement, abuse of alcohol and crime, the cutlass, use of the cutlass, the pelt, the throwing of the stones, throwing stone in the night. I mean, you grew up and people pelting stone on house in the night because somebody is in some disagreement with another person. Somebody breaking another person's window. And the gang group fight and all kind of thing. In our young days as little children, it was more prevalent than it is today.
And as a police officer, a retired police officer, do you think that we can curtail this sort of social behavior through sports, and how probably we can achieve it?
Sports and education is the most vital aspect is religion. everybody in Grenada is connected to some form of religion. So the most important aspect is religion. The fear of God is the most important aspect. That overrides everything. But then sports and education are the two supporting catalysts to get a good society. I'm not even talking about employment. Because if they are educated, they believe in God, and they play in sports, you must have that level of social camaraderie. And if they are educated, then the cultural heritage, the understanding that all of us are one people, they must understand that. And if you believe in God, then you must understand that they would abide by good things in regards to godly behavior.
And how is it that we can get folks like you and others to play that mentoring role in society? I know you have been playing your part. Now that you retired, possibly being more involved in the communities.
Uh, we we are doing it now, that we are doing. Now it beholds now that teachers and community leaders recognize the speakers and these programs and ask the speakers to come and mentor students. Come, I want you to do that, have that talk show. Come and speak to my students. I need I need an outstanding sportsman, I need an outstanding person in our society, an outstanding athlete to come and speak to my class. The first time I went to a school as an athlete, you know where that was? That was in Japan. I went to a school to speak to athletes. I went to do a police course, a presentation and shoe print identification. And I went to a school, and I was a celebrity when I reached in that school. My picture, when I was in 84 Olympics, not 84 Olympics, 91 World
World
Championships.
Championship in Tokyo.
91 World Championship. My picture was there.
Because 91
And I
World
was the
Championship.
tallest person. I was the tallest person in that school, and the students were playing with me and things like that. I felt, watch, man. I felt good. The second time that happened to me, I went to SAS, that's my old school. And every student in SAS, when I reach there, say, Mr. Trevor Modeste reach. And every student come from school was interrupted, students left their class and came out to see me. And then I went to Carrico and I went to a school, a primary school. And students were so happy to see me and touching me. And I went in school uniform. And man, these
Well,
things, this program that you're doing here, this program is so valuable that you.
I know Liz Forsyth views this program religiously, and she doesn't pass on these things. So I'm certain she will probably contact you to speak to those students in her schools, and there are probably others. So, folks, if you're listening, Trevor Modeste, MBE, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, obviously hoping to enjoy his retirement days and will be willing to speak to the students. And it's now more important to get him to speak to those students. We're living through pandemic times, and obviously he will be in a position to chat with you. Just a few minutes remaining on the program. Anything in particular you'd like to leave with us?
Well, I want to pick up all the athletes who are out there, who are sick, who are ailing, and who are struggling. I want to mention Conrad Francis. I want to mention in England, I want to mention Gosport. I also want to mention the old ones like Donald Pierre. Again, old athletes. Well, Ray Roberts is an old athlete too. I mean, nothing wrong with him. He's surviving. All the old police who are sick and ailing. I'm sorry I'm not there to visit you anymore, but those are the people I like to reach out to, the old people. And furthermore, I have come to a conclusion that one of the things that I may have to do is open a home for the aged. I don't know if I'll get money one day, but for outstanding people, when I look at what's his name, Mopsy from River Road, who used to come out and support me, jump up and get on and bet and sometimes gamble and Trevor Modeste and throwing javelin.
That's Mr. Lacret. Mr. Lacret.
Mr. Lacret.
Yeah.
You know, these things touch me when I hear about that. I think one day I may have to open my mouth and say, let us raise funds to build a paid, like a hospital, a home for this retirement home for these old and ailing people who has got strokes and whatnot, and they need that extra care. So that's my contribution. And I like to thank you to all the people who listen to me and continue praying for Grenada, continue praying for all of us. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, we do have a last comment from Mr. Adrian Spaceman Mitchell, a former sports minister.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good person.
Yeah, he has been he has been supporting our program from the start. And but it's nice having you, Trevor, and nice seeing you. Nice speaking to you. We hope probably we can do it with you some other time. You know, I know initially you were a bit iffy, but I know when you get going, and there's a lot you have to share. And I you know, not just sports, you know, I think a lot of people enjoy the part also about how you have been able to, you know, marry the aspect of sports and policing, because we had some fine officers who through sports were able to move up the ranks. You have moved all the way up to Assistant Commissioner of Police, and we have, even to this day, we have a number of officers who are also you know, both in sports, whether it's weightlifting, bodybuilding, boxing, you know, name it. But just finally,
Calypso, man, you forget Calypso, man.
Yeah, the culture. Well, yes,
yeah, man, everything. Beauty Queen. We started Beauty Queen and bringing back the what's it? The debates in school. It's the police that lead in those areas.
Right.
So we lead, and the nation. I told you we had a very good strategic plan.
Yeah, but one of the things I would like to see, and probably even through your retirement, you can encourage, is that the police getting back into the deep involvement in sports in Grenada at the club level, because I think that is lacking to an extent. And when I say lacking, I mean, yes, it's in football, in cricket, but more involvement, whether it's in netball, table tennis. And I'm saying that because sometimes police involvement brings some level of togetherness to the community. There's some level of confidence. There is public trust, you know, all these things. In a small society as Grenada, I think when police are involved in these sporting events, it helps in the trust of the public. We have seen, especially through the pandemic, you know, sometimes we see the tension between police and the public. And I think you folks, in terms of the leadership, have been doing a great job. I know Commissioner, all the assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner, we have a personal rapport, and I would like to see, you know, the police, the Royal Grenada Police Force, being more involved in sports. There is a football team, there is a cricket team. I understand netball is coming back. I want to see track and field. I want to see police directly involved in track and field. That used to be where police used to be dominating. I mean, when we started the program, someone mentioned Whitsuntide Games, for example.
Yeah.
Involvement in the Whitsuntide Games. And I noticed that the Athletic Association has included the Whitsuntide Games for 2021. And I'm hoping that the police can have a team in the track and field structure, and broadly so, whether it's basketball, volleyball, just name it.
Let me just, I know we out of time, but let me just mention something. the advent of the was not marketing board, no, what you call him again, when you retire there, the compulsory saving thing there.
National Insurance Scheme, NIS.
The advent of the national insurance scheme has influenced and affected police, where sports and a national insurance scheme, sports is not police duties. Really, and that is because the national insurance scheme, from where they are sitting, cannot understand the value of police duties and police function. As a police officer, sport was my duty. And it's through sport I was able to achieve what I achieved. And when sports was a function and a duty for police officers, if you didn't participate in sports, you were charged. But when you get injured from participating in sports, National Insurance Scheme is claiming that it's not a duty. And if it's not a duty, they won't compensate you if you get injured. And that now causes this off balance, where some are saying, yes, the Constitution states that the police officer should make the Commissioner of Police should make rules and guidance for the upliftment and running of the police force. And the Commissioner of Police said sports is a duty. But the National Insurance Scheme is saying, no, sports is not a duty. So you understand, when I was actively involved in sports was a duty. Track and field was my duty. Cricket was Webb's duty. You remember Webb? Used to play cricket for Grenada. Valan Antoine used to play. That's what their duty.
Yeah, Webb.
They had to play cricket. They must play cricket. When Clarkson was commissioner of police during the revolution, when we were trying to market the force, when St. Bernard was there also, it was your duty. You left secondary school, you're in your application, your hobbies, you play sports, you play netball, you had to play netball. That's why you have, what's her name, Stanislaus, Vivek. The old standing netball players coming out from secondary schools were coming into the force because it was a duty. But the National Insurance Scheme come now and eliminate that. It's not a duty. But how is sports not a duty, and police officers have to participate in sports to get the work done? You understand?
Yeah, well, hopefully that could be corrected, right?
Of course, it have to be corrected. It have to be corrected.
Well, it's something I'll be speaking with the commissioner and others about, because I think the police, as we say, had played a very integral role in the development of society. As Toro is saying, for some PRA soldiers during the Revo, sports, as they say, was their duty,
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You must participate in sports. And let me tell you something. Look at the amount of sick leaves today. It's triple the amount of sick leave we had when police officers were participating in sports. Look at the size. Look at the belly. No sports, you get fat. You have all kind of chronic disease coming about. I'm trained for 6 years, and then I get chronic disease coming on. When I was participating in sports, every day I walking out and doing everything. Me, I'm sick. My foot break and I still come to work. You understand that? If you, national NIS causing too much a problem in regards to police duties. Police duty is sport. You must, what you do, regular police duties. But there are extracurricular duties that you must perform. You have, like some of the fellas who can play pan, they must be in the band and the band must go outside there and play, and you must perform. There are people who has, like the captains, we call them the artisan squad now. And they must go there and do community work. They must do voluntary work. They must help police officers who do in the houses. They have to do that. That's their duty.
You know, there was once upon a time, the football team in Trinidad, um, comprised mainly of defense force and police officers.
Of course.
Yeah. Even well, and I know for the defense force in Jamaica, a number of the soldiers themselves actively participate in sports. Look at
Right.
Codrell, for example, the cricketer who always saluting when he takes a wicket. He's actually a soldier. He is a soldier.
Yeah.
You know. So yes, the point is being made, but how do we get that to change in Grenada to ensure that sports being part of, and not just sports but physical education?
Well, it's physical education.
Yeah.
Look, there's something that I learned a lot of years. The wheel has been invented a long time ago. So you don't come and reinvent the wheel. And another thing is, if you don't know why the fence was planted, don't go and uproot the fence. Investigate and find out why the fence was planted. I learned through the law that a truck should be 10 tons and not more than 12 tons when it's running on the road. I never knew what that meant until when they came up with SL vehicles, and I went and read it up the laws, and I get to realize that the discussion before the laws were put into place was a geological discussion. Within 6 to 10 tons would be so heavy, it would cause the road, the hydroclastic flow, the ash, which Grenada is made up of, to move slightly, but it won't break the pipes and whatnot. But anything above that will break the pipes. It'll cause the road to wobble and break. And as soon as you move from 10-ton, 12-ton vehicles, all the road mashing up. And that was there from ever since. Another aspect, there is a proportion of women that must be in the police force. It should not pass that amount. The ratio of men to women is supposed to be a certain amount. Now, where they're talking, about equality for women and whatnot, you go and you change that and you put too much women in the force. You must have fraternization. Those are psychological principles that has been vetted and understood, and you want to change all those things throughout the world. And what you're going to have is a hippie set of fraternization. Police officers fraternizing, going behind assaulting, sexual assault against women. These things must happen if you don't keep the ratio lower. As soon as you put a lot of women in the force, you're going to have that. And you don't go and change something that we had for years because you don't understand, and you have your laws and you say sports is not a duty. Sports is a duty in the police force. If the police don't want to socialize, if the police force don't have their cultural group, if the police force don't have the Calypso tent, we Calypso tent in Police Week. You understand? We must have it. And you get fellas from the Police Week Calypso tent to enter the National Calypso tent. Things that happening in the Calypso field, we won't know about it. That's how you manage your country, people talk, that's what democracy is about. You share, you discuss. It's not reporting back. But because police officers are involved and they are there, they would advise and say, no, look, if we can't go that way, this is wrong. We're supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be. And when there is time for information and when it's time for police to take steps, you take steps. It's not something covert. It's not a hidden thing. That's how the police and the public relations supposed to be. That's the pool. That's what we are made of. And if you're going to change that, you'll have more sick police officers. You're getting, man, watch. You see, you sick leave. Man, you can't stop police from participating in sports. That's their duty. And you have to bring it back. And NIS have to bring it back. That's police duty.
Well, one of the things I'm very impressed with in terms of police outside of sports will be, I know the police ban. I mean, I still have the view that it's well, not, don't let me say probably, it's the best.
Police public relations.
Well, no, the ban itself, the police ban is the best in the Caribbean among police bands. You know, best sounding, as they always will say. You know, because the officers.
Rain.
It's raining. Yeah, the officers are very much dedicated. You know, to the band itself. But it's a good point to end on in terms of getting the police more involved, and it's news to me, and it's glad to know that it's something that has been identified. It's something to do with the national insurance scheme, and hopefully it could be rectified to ensure that more officers are involved in not just sports but physical education, understanding its importance, its role in the holistic development. You can't have a police force and there's no aspect of physical education, or probably just part of the curriculum for the training school, and then that's it. There must be some level of continuity in terms of police officers being involved in physical education.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Trevor, and all the best.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, and Monday's a holiday, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Monday's a holiday in Grenada. Okay, it's
I should think so.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. All the best.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So that's folks. That's Trevor Modeste being part of our program, and thank you for viewing. And don't forget to join us on Thursday for another edition of TalkSports from 6:30 in the evening, and then next Saturday, God's willing, we'll be joined by former West Indies wicketkeeper batsman Junior Murray. Until then, you stay positive and you test negative.